From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mac Fleet here with your top news headlines at 12 o'clock on 1680 The Crow. With Queen Elizabeth's funeral being held on September 19th, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has declared the day will serve as a day of mourning for the country, which is a national holiday. There was much speculation after the Queen's passing if Canada would declare a day of mourning for the Queen. The last day of mourning took place back in February of 1952 when King George VI passed away. A plane carrying the coffin of Queen Elizabeth II has landed in London, where crowds have gathered along a route to Buckingham Palace. The military C-17 Globemaster touched down at RAF Northolt, which is an Air Force base in the west of the city, about an hour after it left Edinburgh in Scotland. The Queen's body is making a final journey from Balmoral Castle in northern Scotland, where the monarch died Thursday at age 96, after 70 years on the throne. It will be driven past thousands of people who gathered in the rain along roadsides to pay their last respects. King Charles III and other members of the late Queen's close family will meet it at Buckingham Palace. The federal government says it will match Canadians' donations to help the people of Pakistan, where massive flooding has caused a humanitarian emergency. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made the announcement as a Liberal caucus met in St. Andrews, New Brunswick this morning. Trudeau says donations made to one of 12 aid agencies will be matched until September 28th to a maximum of $3 million.
Tens of millions of people continue to be affected by the devastating flooding in Pakistan, and we stand in solidarity with them. We know Canadians want to help, and we're ready to match that help.
Members of the Toronto Police Services Board, the police chief, and the mayor are paying tribute to a fallen officer by holding a moment of silence for Constable Andrew Hong. Police say Hong was killed on his lunch break from a training session in an unprovoked attack. At the previously scheduled meeting of the police board, Chief James Rammer said Hong will be deeply missed.
We've lost an outstanding member of the service, an outstanding individual in Andrew. We give our deepest condolences to his family, and our membership's going to work through it, and we will honor him appropriately in due course.
Peel police are coordinating a multi-jurisdictional investigation into Hong's death, as well as one other person who was killed and 3 others injured in a series of shootings yesterday afternoon across the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. Burnaby police have made an arrest after a 6-year-old boy was sexually assaulted. Reporter Ryan Bailey has the latest.
Burnaby RCMP have announced the arrest of an 86-year-old man who allegedly sexually assaulted a young boy last Friday. The incident took place in the Metrotown food court, where the suspect allegedly grabbed and pinched the 6-year-old boy's bottom and fled the scene before police arrived. RCMP put out a notice to the public and published a photo of the suspect shortly after the suspect was arrested and questioned by police. The 86-year-old is on conditional release, provided he does not return to Metrotown, and his charges are still pending. For 1680 The Crow, I'm Ryan Bailey.
The rising crime rates in Vancouver are having an impact on smaller businesses. Seamus Page has more.
Crime rates in BC have been increasing over the past while. This has resulted in a negative impact on small businesses. Lenny Zhao, a municipal candidate for the ABC party, talked with small businesses in Chinatown to examine the impact.
They spend more than half of their budget on the fixing the broken window, fixing the graffitis. All those kind of money going to those money that they shouldn't be spending on because of the increasing crimes.
Mr. Zhao thinks that crime has become far too common in Vancouver and would like to see something done about it. Seamus Page, 1680, The Crow.
We're joined now by reporter Seamus Page. Seamus, what is the main concern with the increasing crime rates in Vancouver?
Well, Mac, apart from general concerns about violence, it seems as though it's becoming more commonplace and normalized.
What can be done to help with this ongoing issue?
One of the main things that came up in my conversation with Mr. Zhao was more support for law enforcement, while also ensuring those with mental health issues are given the help that they need.
Thank you, Seamus. A new study has found the pandemic provided Canadians the opportunity to rethink their financial goals, with many moving or switching careers and planning to travel. The study conducted by Merrill Public Opinion on behalf of CIBC in early August found that 67% of Canadians are reevaluating their priorities as COVID-19 restrictions come to an end. Ukrainian troops are piling pressure on retreating Russian forces, pressing a counteroffensive that has produced major gains and a stunning blow to Moscow's military prestige. As the advance continued Tuesday, Ukraine's border guard services said the army took control of Vershansk, a town just 3 kilometers from Russia, seized on the first day of the war. Russia acknowledged that it has withdrawn troops from areas in the northeastern region of Kharkiv in recent days. It was not yet clear if the Ukrainian blitz could signal a turning point in the nearly 7-month war, but officials were buoyant and released footage of showing their forces burning Russian flags. A United Nations report contains a stark warning about global warming, saying irreversible climate catastrophe is looming. Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the world is heading in the wrong direction on climate.
This year's United in Science report shows climate impacts heading into uncharted territories of destruction. Yet, each year, we double down on this fossil fuel addiction, even as the symptoms get rapidly worse.
Starbucks plans to spend $450 million next year to make its North American stores more efficient and less complex. The company also said it plans to open 2,000 new stores in the U.S. by 2025. The emphasis will be on meeting the growing demand for drive-thru and delivery. Starbucks recently saw its best week in sales in its 51-year history when it introduced its latest fall drinks. But it says stores need better equipment to make drinks more quickly. Among the things driving the revamp is an ongoing unionization effort, which Starbucks opposes. More than 230 U.S. stores have voted to unionize since late last year. After the Queen's passing, unofficial shops are popping up everywhere in Britain. Ed Donahue has more.
It hasn't taken very long since the death of Queen Elizabeth for unofficial souvenirs marking her life and death to appear in London shops. Items with the Queen's face on them have always been big sellers at Ismail Ibrahim's store in London, close to Buckingham Palace.
People, like during the Jubilee time, we knew that the mugs, people love to get mugs with the Jubilee on.
He's selling T-shirts and mugs in tribute to the Queen.
Forever in our heart and gone but not forgotten. That's been really popular.
Ibrahim managed to get these items in his store 2 days after the Queen died.
We had to push our companies who supply goods for us, and they said they will try. Then they had to work overnight to make them.
Coming soon, King Charles merchandise. Another mug and T-shirt have portraits of the Queen, both young and old, with the words Queen Elizabeth II, the greatest reign, 1952 to 2022. I'm Ed Donahue.
And now for sports. The Jays continue their series with the Rays today with a doubleheader. The Jays won last night 3-2, putting them second in the AL wildcard race, while the Rays dropped to third. Projected Jays starter Alex Manoah is scratched for the first game of the night after dealing with a stomach bug overnight. Manoah could return for the second game. Julian Merriweather will start game one instead. Aaron Judge is looking to continue his historic season when the AL East division-leading Yankees travel to Fenway Park to take on their bitter rival, the Boston Red Sox. Judge's 55 home runs this season lead the MLB, and he is within striking distance of Roger Maris's 61 home runs, which is the Yankee record. The NBA has suspended Phoenix Suns owner and Phoenix Mercury owner Robert Sarver for 1 year and fined him $10 million. An investigation took place and found that he had engaged in workplace misconduct and organizational deficiencies. These findings come almost a year after the NBA hired a law firm to look into Sarver's allegations. In the NHL, the St. Louis Blues have re-signed their all-star player Jordan Kyrou to an 8-year contract extension worth $65 million. Kyrou had a huge breakout season for the Blues last season, scoring 75 points in just 74 games. Pittsburgh Steelers star outside linebacker TJ Watt will miss at least one game with the pectoral injury. The reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year sustained the injury late in the fourth quarter of a 23-20 overtime victory over Cincinnati. Pittsburgh coach Mike Tomlin said the injury isn't initially feared, as said it's too early to tell how long Watt might be sidelined. Newcomers Malik Reed and Jameer Jones will get an opportunity at filling in for Watt when the Steelers host New England in their home opener in Week 2. And now for your Vancouver weather update. Expect a nice cool day with a high of only 21 degrees. It will alternate between being cloudy and sunny for most of the day. With temperatures continuing to drop the air quality has improved in Vancouver after forest fires greatly affected the air quality over the weekend. Thank you for tuning in to your 12 o'clock news headline with Mac Fleet on 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
didn't see you there. My name is Kevin Yee, and I was your news dude this week. This is the companion call for 1680 The Crow, and today we're gonna take a break. What does that mean? Well, we're actually gonna talk about reading breaks on today's episode. What is a reading break? A reading break is a few days off in the middle of a semester designed to give students a bit of a much-needed vacation. It is meant to give them the chance to recharge their batteries and relax a bit, while also having the opportunity to catch up on any schoolwork if they need to. The reason we're talking about this right now is because the University of British Columbia is having their first ever fall reading break this week. Up until this week, UBC was one of the few post-secondary schools in the province to not have a reading break in the fall. Now that they've joined the dark side, or maybe the light side, depending on who you ask, that leaves BCIT as one of the few post-secondary schools in the province to not have a reading break in the fall. It is an exclusive club, and it feels good to be here, maybe. So to that end, we invited a couple of BCIT students into the broadcasting room to talk about what a reading break would mean to them. We discuss the stresses of the semester, we discuss our mental health, and what we do to look after it. We even had a chance to take a listen at what other BCIT students around the campus have to say about their dream reading break vacations. It was a fantastic discussion with lots of interesting points made. There's even a little bit about whether or not we need a reading break at all. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, my name is Kevin Yee, and I've been one of your news dudes this week. Joshua Rice has been the other one, and together... Thank you, Josh. He was the other news dude, and together we are hosting today's episode of The Companion Call. So please welcome to the show our esteemed guests, Michael Williams and Big Ben Bazran. And of course, thank you for listening to The Companion Call on 1680 The Crow. Let's take a listen at the conversation.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's Companion Call. I'm your host, Joshua Rice, with my co-host, Kevin Yee, and we are joined by two wonderful BCIT students, Ben Bazran and Michael Williams. How are we doing today, guys?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Feeling fantastic.
It's good to hear from Michael.
How's the school semester been for you guys?
It's been busy, especially after last year, where it just wasn't as intense at all. So definitely feeling a little stressed out. Could use a break.
Yeah, I am definitely getting the sense that this is more than it was last year.
Yeah.
Like for me, I also work from home, and when I was at the beginning of the semester, when I was negotiating with my boss how many hours I would have, I was basing it off of like the workload from last year, and it's way more, and it's actually a struggle to keep up.
I'd be very interested to figure out, like, what are the first year, are they grinding in the same hours that we are right now, or are they more of a schedule that we were on last year? Or was it just because of COVID? You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, it's hard to say, because last year, like, it was pretty relaxed. We were all able to work, I think.
Very relaxed. I don't know why I pointed to Adam
there. Is Mike ever truly relaxed?
Yo, I was relaxed last year for sure. Yeah, no, last year wasn't a breeze, but there were definitely less stressful days than there already have been this year.
Yeah.
Right?
So
the more stressful days were last year.
So on like a scale on like a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is like the most stressed you've ever been. 1, you know, just chilling, happy days. Where would you say this semester has been?
This semester, I'd probably say I'm at like an 8.5 if I'm being completely honest. Like, I'm not the most stressed I've ever been, but there are days where I am very, very stressed, and I definitely feel like I'm at like my breaking point almost. So yeah, 8.5.
I think I'm gonna kind of cheat on this answer. On a Sunday night before a new role that I've never done before, going into a rotation that we had a 30-minute meeting on the Friday before, my stress is at a 9.
Yeah.
Like, it bordering 9.5. Like, not 10 where I'm going to go crazy, but, like, I have the scaries on a Sunday for sure. And then when you're kind of in the role, you're on Wednesday, or you kind of know what you're doing, it's down to, like, a 6, a 5. You still want to do well and contribute, but at least you kind of figure out what you're supposed to be doing. But that Sunday night, I mean, and that routinely every week, that catches up to you. It's exhausting.
Where would you be at, Josh?
Man, it's tough. I mean, like Ben said, starting a new role every week, it's like you get in the groove, and then next week you're just out of it, right?
Totally.
Yeah, probably a solid like average 7 on average. I'll give myself a 7.
For me, I'd say on a good day, it's probably like a 6, like you said. On a bad day, I'm probably up there with Michael, 8.5.
Yeah, it can fluctuate.
Yeah.
Definitely. What have been some of the biggest challenges you guys have faced? Like the tight deadlines, the quick turnover. What do you think?
For me personally, I think it's just we're doing so much more this year. Like the expectation of the amount of content we're producing each day or each week has really just ramped up from what it was last year. And then having to kind of go across all platforms and do that, you know, whether you're in digital, radio, or TV, there's aspects kind of woven into each of them, you know, like for example, for the record last week, you know, I'm interviewing people, which is a radio side. I'm doing wraparounds, which is a radio side. I'm writing scripts, but then I'm doing web posts and I'm, you know, tweeting about it and doing all this stuff on top. So I think just the overall expectation of how much we're meant to produce is ramped up.
Definitely get that, yeah.
I think it also just, it feels in a way, it went from 0 to 100. I remember in Ian's first radio class, like one of his first couple weeks in radio last year, we had a week to do one wraparound. Like now it's, can you show up at 10 a.m. and have a wraparound by the noon cast? And you got to get a voice in that time. So that's extremely stressful because not just for yourself, you want to do well, you want to produce something well for the grades, for your resume, your portfolio, all that stuff. But you know, you don't want to let the news desker down. You don't want to let your team down. You want to give them the content. So it's definitely a more team environment, but that comes with a heavier burden this year as well. Whereas last year, since we were all separate, there was no team camaraderie.
Yeah, I definitely am with you on that. Last year, I really felt like we were 30 students all just doing our own thing.
Yeah.
This time, yeah, kind of adjusting to the team environment is a bit of a different thing than last year.
It's crazy to think, like, we're running the show now. Like, we run the radio station, we run the TV program, we run the web posts on our website. Like, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, I remember last year when we had, like, the mini practicum and we half stepped into these roles, you would think that, like, the second year they must have been so on top of things to get things done, and like they must have known what they were doing. And then you get to a second year and you realize no one has any clue and we're all just winging it.
Yeah, definitely. It's been an adjustment. And being on campus, because we weren't last year, it's like finding things, like just getting used to being here for 9 hours a day, really.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's probably my biggest challenge, adjusting to being on campus. Because when you're in a Zoom class, you can kind of get up and walk around your house and, you know, you might have a cat or a roommate that you can unwind with. But when you're on campus and you kind of got to find the right balance to not go crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How have you guys been coping with the stress? Any techniques? Any recommendations?
Oh man, I use the gym. The gym's a big outlet for me. I think, you know, every day after school I try and go at least 4 days a week, and that helps a lot. Like I find, you know, I'm on my drive home and I'm still kind of thinking about my day, and you know, maybe I had a good day, maybe I didn't have a good day, and I'm, you know, maybe stressed out about it a bit or what I got to do the next day, and then by the time I leave the gym, it's kind of like I've just had a full refresh and I feel like I'm back to myself and I'm grounded and I know what I have to do. And yeah, I'd say the gym for me is the main coping mechanism.
I think for me, it's a few things. Like I'm a big golfer. Like going to the golf course, hit some balls, really clears the head. I'm getting into a habit now of I listen to music on the way in and on the way out of campus, and like pretty like upbeat, fun music. It kind of just, as soon as I leave this building, like I want to get my mind off of it until I got to start thinking about stories. So at least for that 30-minute drive home, I can kind of be with myself and put on a little concert in the car and just have some fun with some tunes.
You got any recommendations to really help that really gets you relaxed?
My latest intro song to BCIT has been Dynamite by Tayo Cruz.
Nice. That's an old one.
It really gets me in the zone though. Like I came to dance and I'm like, all right, we're ready to go right now.
That was a 2010 release. If
Like
my memory
6:30 going into the parking lot.
Memory serves me right.
Nice. Gets you pumped.
It does.
We can probably find a sample of that. Who knows?
It's a banger.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that you'd benefit from a reading break in the winter term? Do you think that would help with your stress at all right now?
Do I think we would benefit from it? Absolutely. I think we have 4 rotations, each 3 weeks long. If you gave us a week in between the second and third rotation to just kind of recalibrate, reset, I think it would go a long way for our mental health, for our work, just so we can do the best work possible and just to kind of step away. And I know going from internship to a new role to a new rotation, it takes a lot out of you, and you want to keep performing, keep getting good grades, and that can cause some serious fatigue.
What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Ben, but also too, I'm one of those people that I really thrive off momentum. So when I'm kind of in the roles and going through them each week, yeah, it's stressful, yeah, it's tough. But if you give me that week off, maybe when I come back, it takes me a few extra days to get back into the rhythm, and I'll still be stressed out either way. I mean, the week off will be nice, but I think if you look at it in terms of, would I rather have a week off now and then cut it down to 3 weeks on winter break versus having the 4 weeks of winter break, I'll take the 4 weeks of winter break every time.
Wow.
All right, we have a disagreement. You guys might have to arm wrestle to see who's right.
He just said he goes to the gym a lot, so I don't really want to...
I don't want to mess up his golf swing.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Honestly, I think I'm with Ben on this one.
Yeah.
Having a break in the middle, I think, would be extra good for kind of recharging, resetting, than doing it all at the end. I'm with Ben on this one.
Joshy?
Yeah, I can definitely see both sides. I mean, having the whole month, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I feel like I'm dying out right now. Like,
yeah,
it's getting tough.
It's the home stretch here,
right?
But not even though. We still got 3 more weeks of a pretty intense
Yeah.
rotation to go. So I don't know. I look at it like most universities. You finish classes December 6th, 7th, and you have exams for 10 days or so. You come back on the 15th to the 18th-ish. Our friends are mostly in other schools. They're doing school. What are you going to do that's that huge in December? Maybe you'll go skiing once or twice. There's not as much to do outside in December that there is in October. It's better weather in October. It's lighter outside. There's longer days in October. So I think it'd be more beneficial for us to have that week in October to reset. And then, 3 weeks for Christmas break still significantly long and like a pretty good period of time. And you get the main time, you get Christmas and New Year's and all that. So I think it'd be beneficial to us to have that, and maybe you guys are kind of inspiring me. Maybe I'll push for that at some point in the program. I don't for the next generation of BCIT journalism students.
Let's if we can kind of make it smaller. Michael, would you rather have like a 3-day weekend every week, or have Wednesdays off and still do stuff on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday?
I think it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. I'm a person that I kind of feed off my own momentum. So to cut that off in the middle of the week, I just feel like it would be hard for my brain to grasp. Like, hey, I got to go back to class Thursday and Friday and be productive and produce good work. So I think for me, I'd take the 3-day weekend.
All right, sticking to your guns.
Yeah.
I actually agree with Michael on this one.
Ooh.
I'm gonna take his side here because I get the whole point of taking Wednesday off. You either just had a day off or you're about to have a day off, no matter what day of the week it is, which is great for your sanity. If my math's right there,
I feel like it's not. I was just adding that up.
It is, right?
You either just had a day,
you either just had a day, or you're about to have a day.
What if it's Tuesday?
Then you're
about to have one on Wednesday.
Oh, if there's no I see. Okay.
So that is enticing, but I would hate to have not shown up today knowing I have to show up tomorrow and Friday then, because like Michael said, and he's right about this, you kind of get into a groove with your role. You want to do that properly. And a 3-day weekend, we have a 4-day weekend kind of coming. We have a bunch of work to do, but it'll be nice. It's something to look forward to.
Definitely. And if you were given the opportunity to have a reading break, a week off in the middle of the semester, what would you do? How'd you spend it? Who would you see?
Go first.
I'd golf for sure. Really take my mind off it.
Nice.
Keep harping on that, but I'd golf. I'd hang out with some friends. Just really lay low. Try to take my mind off of everything to do with school, at least for a little bit before I got to get going, and see some radio guys. Go to a couple Canucks games maybe.
Yeah.
Just hang out. Just be super chill. Get some good sleep. That's absolutely what I do. Is not wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
For myself, if I had, some money, I'd probably try and maybe go somewhere nice for a couple of days. I'm not too sure how it would work with COVID and, getting there and back in the week time slot. But if not traveling, I'd probably do something similar to Ben. I just recharge the batteries, try and make sure I get lots of sleep every night, hang out with friends, just, try and focus on anything but school. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to cheat and do two answers. One, what I would want to do, and one, what I would probably do. What I'd want to do is go out to PEI and visit my aunt and grandma who just moved there.
Wow.
I've never been to PEI, and I love my Nana, so it's just a perfect thing.
That's awesome.
But I don't have the money for that. So what I'd probably end up doing is just punching in a lot of hours at work, and honestly probably wouldn't relax that much, but it'd be a different kind of working. It's, work stress is different from school stress, and I would still want the break from school stress for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, man, I think I'd go home. I haven't seen my family in a couple months now that I'm living on campus, so go home, recharge, not think about school for a little bit, and just kind of hang out.
Two very wholesome answers there of what you guys would do.
Yeah.
I like that.
And we also asked some other students around campus about what they would do, and we can take a look at their answers now.
So guys, what would you do if you're given a week off for reading break?
Oh wow, if I had a week off, I would do a little self-care. I would do a lot of yoga. I would make some smoothies. I would sleep in and probably go for a couple runs.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I had a week off, I would probably just build up my portfolio because, I mean, even if we have 7 days off, it's not like I can escape school.
Probably go to Mexico.
I would either catch up on reading and actually use the break, or take the time off to do like a personal, like, away from school, like, trip or something like that.
Relax. Yeah. Probably study more because we know that BCIT crams everything in that one last week. Yeah. So definitely study more, and I think I'll be able to get better grades.
I would use my flight voucher from a vacation that I booked prior to the pandemic. I'd take a trip to Disneyland.
I had an extra week off for reading break. I would fly down to Chicago to go spend some time with my girlfriend that I'm in a long distance relationship with.
I'll actually finish Grey's Anatomy because it never ends.
I will travel to Squamish or Victoria Island because I just landed here in January and I haven't been there yet, so I'm going to visit there and discover Canada more.
I think it'd be really beneficial, just like course load's really heavy here at BCIT. You could use that time to study or like just to relax, and help me get my mind back into my studies. So it'll probably even help me get better marks.
I would take that time to relax.
Well, if I had the finances and the ability to travel, I would definitely probably go to Scottsdale where my parents have a house and spend some time in a sunnier content.
I'd take the time to relax, sleep in, but also work because I work on the side part-time.
I'd probably study and relax a bit.
Okay, now that we're back, do you guys think that the mental health of students would benefit from a reading break? You can talk about yourself personally or try and generalize.
Well, we just did it at the same time. There.
Yeah, a little lip smack.
Yeah.
I think the obvious answer is yes. I mean, everyone gets stressed out. Everyone's feeling a little burnt out. Like we all said, it's been kind of feels like month after month of us just coming to school every day and producing lots of work. So I definitely think it would help for sure. I kind of forget what the second part to that question was. Was there a second part?
No, I think that was pretty much it.
Well then, yes.
I'm right with Michael there. I think it absolutely would help our mental health. The danger, to play devil's advocate a little bit, would be I don't want to get a reading week because people want to be lazy for a week. Like, I get you want to recharge your batteries, like we both have said or whatever, but I don't want it to be just because you want to sit around and do nothing. I think there's a purpose for this, and it's so we can do better work eventually, not just to sit around and get in a slump and then come back like not ready to go. So if they test it out and they find like people like Michael who they might lose momentum, then they do not that well for the next rotation for the first little bit, then maybe that's a problem. Maybe you want to keep that high intensity up the entire time. So maybe it's an experimental thing.
There actually was a second part to that question. Oh. The second part is, and why? So, Ben, you mostly answered that, but do you want to give that another shot, Michael?
Why it would be so beneficial?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now that I hear what Ben says, I kind of agree with him too. Like, for myself, like, I don't know, if I get assigned reading over a week and no one's really monitoring me and there's no, like, quiz or test when I get back, right, I'm probably not going to do it, if I'm being completely honest. Connie, if you're watching, I will read whatever you send me. But, yeah, no, yeah, it would be beneficial.
Well, we don't want to take up too much more of your guys' time, but 3 weeks left in the semester.
Yeah.
How do you plan on pushing through, and what are you doing after to celebrate Christmas break?
Back to me again?
I'll go first?
Yeah.
I'll go first this time. How would I plan on pushing through? Wow, I just think you see the finish line. It's kind of like you're turning, if you're running a 400-meter race, you've turned it for the last 100, you can just see the end there, so push through, get it done. There's no other real answer other than that. Like, we're all tired, we're all fatigued, we've all put in a lot of work and made some awesome content. It's been a lot of fun. Just keeping spirits up, staying in a good routine, getting sleep is kind of what I plan on. And then the second part was, what do you
plan on doing to celebrate the finish of the semester and Christmas break?
The Friday the 3rd we finish, I hop on a flight that night to go see my sister in Montreal and then go to see Toronto and all my friends back out east. And that'll be fun. And then I have Christmas with my family this year. So that should be fun. Reset myself and be ready to go come early January.
I thought we finished on the 13th.
We finished on the 3rd.
3rd is the last day.
And then we're off till...
The 4th?
The 4th.
Of January. Nice.
Yeah.
Learning something new.
And what would you do between the 3rd and 4th?
God. I know I got to work a bit. I've blown quite a bit of money that I saved up in the summer, so I'm definitely going to have to get back to the restaurant for a solid few weeks. My family's going to be in Palm Springs, so they're probably going to try and find a way to get me down there. And I'll probably go, just because who doesn't want to go to Palm Springs?
Can't turn that down.
Yeah. Especially if the flight's paid for. Mom, please.
But, even better.
Yeah. Yeah, man, just go down to Palm Springs, come back, kind of just stay chill, work. You know, I don't really get up to anything that crazy. And then just in terms of getting through these last 3 weeks, I'm looking forward. Next week I start industry, so that's something I haven't done yet. So it's kind of giving me like a bit of an energy boost, if you'd say. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Perfect. Well, that's all the time we have, guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
This week's companion call.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
As climate change worsens, innovation has become key. At an automotive workshop in Burnaby, students work clustering around vehicles, learning how to keep them in running order. But for some, this hands-on practice is now being applied for a new kind of vehicle, low emissions and electric vehicles. Chattis Leo investigates.
With the window to tackle climate change rapidly closing, it's becoming more pressing to switch to renewable sources to power transport, housing, and other utilities. But at BCIT, one program is already addressing such a need. It's the Department of Automotive, Motor, and Power Sport. Program head Steve Elder, a former retrofitter and certified mechanic, starts off by telling us about the origins of the program.
We were funded for this program by the Ministry of Energy and Mines and Low Carbon, and they had come in at about 2018 and wanted us to start providing training for other people who were involved in the industry outside of the manufacturers. So up until this point, really the only training that was available for automotive technicians was from the manufacturers themselves. So the idea was that we would plan and build, based with, of course, with the government's help, we would have a different approach, and we would have sort of an aftermarket view rather than having to go through the manufacturers.
Before Steve got into the nuts and bolts of the program and what it's doing to tackle climate change through teachings of renewable energy, he first talked about how he first got into this sector of the industry.
I guess really as the industry had matured over the years that I was working, on internal combustion engines, we saw the introduction of hybrids at the end of the 1990s, and then pretty slow sort of uptake in them, but I was kind of keeping an eye on them and, was interested in them, started taking some training with some outside trainers, as well as doing manufacturers training as well on hybrids and electric vehicles. So that kind of segued into what I'm doing today.
Is it that one or that one?
Yep.
That one? You remove our... Okay, so...
Okay, so I think that what we actually do in this course is we show them how to rebuild battery packs. So in other words, they can take a battery pack right apart, take it down to the cell level, identify failed cells, and then replace them. Then charge the batteries back up. That's with a certain chemistry. It depends what chemistry we've got, but we're still, even with batteries that are lithium ion, which is the very common, all manufacturers are using them now for a plug-in electric vehicle, then we're still showing them how to repair those, take them right down to the cell level.
Brent Lassus, an instructor for the School of Transportation through BCIT, talks about a bit of the challenges when it comes to teaching this new type of technology.
I think some of the biggest challenges is actually finding training material, having the vehicles, having the required vehicles. Obviously, if you're teaching, say, hybrids and electric vehicles, you need to have the vehicles here, you need to have the training aids. So sometimes procuring them can be a bit difficult, especially now. It's hard to come by the vehicles. There's a huge waiting list to buy vehicles, new and used. So that's usually the biggest hurdle that we have, is also having we use live training aids on vehicles, but we also have training aids set up, training stations set up, and just finding those materials and just finding all the tooling to work on them can be the most challenging part. Yeah.
Similar to the students that attend the program at BCIT, both Brent and Steven truly believe that the path of teaching renewable technology is the right way to go when tackling climate change.
It's exciting. I don't know, it wasn't the primary reason for going. I've always liked new technology. Just in general, electric vehicles are smoother, faster, more efficient. So the savings in fuel costs, but then also the climate factor is also a big part of it, obviously, too. It's not the only thing, but Yeah, just for me, and it was a fun transition to learn all these new technologies and things like that. I think that's the biggest thing is if you're willing to learn, you can definitely make the transition.
Oh, I think it's awesome because if you've ever driven an electric vehicle or been for a drive in an electric vehicle, someone else driving, you'll know that they're extremely fast, they're extremely quiet. There's very little maintenance on them. We've gone from internal combustion engines that could be upwards of 2,000 moving parts to vehicles that have got maybe 20 moving parts. So we're headed in the right direction for sure.
In a world where climate change is an ever-pressing issue, we need to teach the next generation on how to properly protect the planet. And the Motive Power program at BCIT is doing just that. For The Crow, with co-producer Jasper Chu, this is Chattis Leo.
You may see them on the streets of Vancouver, plastic bags slung over their shoulders, picking up cans or bottles. Some call them dumpster divers. Others may just ignore their existence, but the Binners of Vancouver are a hardworking group of people who are helping to clean our city up. Shivani Joshi joins a local binner on his trap line as she learns the way binning sustains a living for one of the most marginalized groups in urban neighborhoods across North America.
And this is another thing I don't like. People taking these out. But
I'm walking up to 312 Main Street, a building once occupied by the VPD that now houses several social enterprises. It's a typical rainy Vancouver day, and I'm joining Bill, a cheerful 64-year-old man who's part of the Binners Project, on his regular route to collect empties.
my name's Bill Piggott. I've been with the Binners Project now for almost 6 years. When I came into the Binners Project, my doctor told me I had to lose weight, and the only thing I could do is walk. And the walking is stupid and stuff like that, stupid to pick up cans. It actually, even though I suffer from COPD, that's a very, very strong lung disorder, and I suffer from hypertension. So, I didn't think it would be good for me, but it actually worked out to be pretty good. And, I lost 60 pounds in less than a year and maintained my weight, so.
Bill's typical trap line is nearly 3.5 kilometers long. We started off at 312 Main. We made our way underneath the Georgia Viaduct, past Science World, until we got to Habitat Island. After that, we strolled through Olympic Village and then headed back to 312, making a stop at every recyclable bin on the route. Our jackets and shoes drenched in rain, this walk took us about 2 hours.
Well, it's my route's been pretty well the same thing. We call it a trap line. And a hunter goes out and sets his trap line, and then goes and checks it. But and it's like after a while you start thinking, hey, this is my property type thing. Welcome to it. I don't care about other people picking up on it, but don't do stuff like as I was saying when I was clearing out the edges and stuff like that, if you're going to pick up empties there, clear the thing like I do. Yeah. And I try to do that as an example. When I have quite a bit and I've got empties, I like to leave 1 or 2 cans out just as an example for people to see as they're walking around. This is where the cans go. Yeah. Here you're going to see what I'm talking about. What I do with the bin. Yeah.
Oh, these are the ones they lock up?
No, these are the ones they don't lock up.
These are the ones they just have on the side?
Yep, they have the side, but you see the waste.
You can open the door as well? Or?
Yep. And you see the waste there? Yeah. That's not what's supposed to be there. So bottles and cans only.
As we trek down his trap line, Bill shows me how he collects.
I just carry the bags. I like to feel the bag.
Yeah.
On my shoulder. I don't like the sound of the wheels always hitting ruts in the road. And click, 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 as you're walking down the road. It's just, and stuff like scuffing their feet and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you don't pick up bottles?
I don't pick up glass because glass is very heavy.
Yeah.
For one thing, and that's not even the more dangerous one. I one time had a piece of glass jab into my back because a beer bottle broke in my bag. And things like that can happen quite often.
Beyond the physical challenges Bill deals with on a day-to-day, working in the informal recycling sector comes with social and emotional challenges as well.
One of my biggest challenges is people look at us and they call us bums. You know, listen, we're working. We're not asking anybody for anything. You know, in fact, we're cleaning up that a lot of times. So, you know, as a vendor, we have dripping bags, and there's, you know, the bags are could be anything in there from beer to some people urinate in bottles and stuff, and when you're walking around afterwards, you know, the odor can be pretty strong sometimes. Yeah. And it's hard to get out of your clothes.
I spoke to Sean Miles, director of the Binners Project, regarding how the organization is helping to reduce the stigma Binners face.
So one is that very early on, the project developed a uniform, which is green shirt with our logo and a hat as a way to legitimize the work that Binners are doing. And many of the Binners are very proud of their uniform and you know, get recognized in the community wearing those things. And that's something that we think is a great tool for destigmatizing. We also regularly engage with the city and others, the province, and trying to ensure that Binners are in the room to give their voice to things, which helps, again, legitimize their experience and the work that they're doing.
Do you feel like you have a greater sense of community as a result of this program?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Are a lot of your friends part of this program?
Not really. I don't socialize a lot.
Okay.
The guy just called me. It's like, you know, one of my only friends. I mean, he's my drug dealer. You know, I call him a friend.
And what do you take, if you don't mind?
I smoke cocaine.
Okay. And is that a result of the injury or even prior to that?
No, it's just something that the first 20 years actually I was on my own. That I was down here, like I didn't use it, and just one time all of a sudden, it's a state of affairs down here. I mean, just about everybody has some kind of a thing, and it's a crutch. A crutch is what it is. So, in the late 80s, with a breakup and losing my family, losing my kid, you know, it was kind of.
Oh, you have a child?
Yeah.
Do you see your child ever?
No, it's just things. There's a lot of depression and stuff like that, and I just kind of, just went distant.
We're definitely not the kind of complete solution to that, but you know, it has, and from the start, the project has been intended to be a way for Binners to find community and engage with each other. So I think it's definitely helped facilitate some of that. There's always going to be more work to be done in that, and also we've seen a real impact of the pandemic on the project's ability to help facilitate that sense of community. Obviously, not being able to kind of meet indoors in the way that we typically would and engage with the community as we normally would have has definitely impacted kind of, I think, the Binners' sense of cohesiveness of working towards a common goal.
Another key component of the Binners community is the United We Can Bottle Depot. Here, the Binners bring their empties and then get 10 cents for each item returned. The director of the organization, Bing Smith, talks about how their customers from the informal recycling sector are always accommodated.
United We Can was founded 28 years ago, and it was founded by a Binner at the time. And one of the reasons that he founded it was he wanted to give the Binners a safe place to come where they got treated with dignity and weren't frowned upon. In those days, nobody wanted to deal with people that looked scruffy and rough and had cans and bottles and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, certainly one of his mission statements, and, you know, we still have two. So one was to provide a safe, welcoming environment for, as you call it, Binners. We call them customers, but it's the same thing. First thing is we treat everybody with respect. We don't care what you're doing or where you're from or what's wrong with you. We don't have a restricted list like some bottle depots do where certain people aren't allowed.
Sean talks to me about how the project works closely with the city to ensure the binners are able to work without any obstructions, although that's not always the case.
City is a group that we look to for support in some ways, and we do receive some grant funding from the city that helps support our operations. That being said, we've seen ways in which they've hindered us, the community, through things like even just recently the coffee cup bylaw, the fee that came into effect, which is kind of disproportionately impacting binners and other kind of lower income individuals. The same thing with the plastic bag ban to an extent as well, has impacted binners in that many of them relied on plastic bags, but also we have Binners Hook, which is an infrastructure project we developed a few years back that specifically allowed residents in the community to hang any of their refundables on a hook in their back alley. And many of the people who have those hooks relied on plastic bags as that to get those and to leave those out for binners. So, things like that where there is kind of a ripple effect that can impact the community. And so we have always worked to try and partner with and work with the city where we can, but also be willing to kind of call out those areas where we're seeing that they're falling short, for sure.
We had this for a while. We were doing the sorting here, but I don't know. They become very unbinner friendly around here.
Oh.
Yeah. It's been
Why is that? What's before my time?
locking these up.
Yeah.
You gotta reach in. You can't open it up and look. But it is a waste station, and it is illegal for them to tell you can't be looking in there.
Despite the many challenges Bill faces in his day-to-day, he continues to say,
One of the favorite sayings of Michael Leland, who's my partner doing that, it is what it is, he'd say. You never know what's going to happen when you vote. It's just kind of, things will happen. Things will happen, and just not letting it bother you. Just trying to. And then when you see something that somebody's having a bad time and everything like that, it's just think about, oh, for the grace of God, that could be me. If just one little downturn or just staying in that negativity would have happened. And one of the big things with it is when I went back to the spinning wheel in the 90s, and I started working there because it was a different thing. I mean, my friends were kind of not the ones that were partying and everything in there, but like the band and the ownership and stuff like that. It just pulled me out of it. So I wasn't gonna just sit back and just get drunk. I never was one to really want to get drunk.
I'm Shivani Joshi with my co-producer Julie Madsen for 1680 The Crow.
As COVID restrictions are slowly fading away, the Coquitlam Dodgeball League prepares for opening night of their 27th season, the first full season since COVID started.
When most people are looking for a recreational sports league to join, they think of hockey, basketball, or maybe soccer. However, this group of people have found their passion for dodgeball. The Coquitlam Dodgeball League, or CDL, was founded in 2007 and started with 16 teams. Now, it's made up of 40 teams with over 350 players. One player, Rob Gerard, has been playing in the CDL since it first began and is the only player to play every single year. 15 years later, he still plays, but is also the league director, which means he focuses on day-to-day tasks as well as launching every season.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon. I'm Mac Fleet here with your 1 o'clock news update on 1680 The Crow. Earlier today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that September 19th will be a federal holiday to mourn the late monarch on the day of her state funeral in London. Monday will be a holiday for all federal government employees, but it is up to provincial and territorial governments to declare the holiday for remaining workers. Employers in federally regulated industries such as banks and airlines are not required to recognize the holiday, but may opt to do so. A 43-year-old man has been charged with aggravated assault after a food delivery worker was stabbed in the neck and upper body. The unprovoked attack happened Sunday as the 22-year-old victim was attacked from behind while making a stop in Chinatown. Bystanders rushed to help the critically injured man, who is now expected to survive, and witnesses were able to give enough information to help police make an arrest. The suspect was charged yesterday and is scheduled to return to provincial court in Vancouver later today. The Liberal caucus met in New Brunswick today and discussed how to help low-income Canadian families. Mia Rabson has more.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the cost of living measures are targeted at the people who need it the most. Under the plan, Canadians who get GST rebate checks would get twice as much over the next 6 months. Nearly 2 million low-income Canadians will get a $500 one-time rental allowance, and low and moderate-income families with kids under 12 can get up to $650 per child to cover dental care bills. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says all three are things his party has been pushing the government to do for months. Mia Rabson, The Canadian Press, St. Andrews, New Brunswick.
The United Nations met Tuesday to discuss climate change. Reporter Ryan Bailey has the latest.
The United Nations warns about the impacts of climate change, saying irreversible climate catastrophe is not far away. Secretary General Antonio Guterres cites these disasters and attributes them to the use of fossil fuels.
Heat waves in Europe, colossal floods in Pakistan, prolonged and severe droughts in China, the Horn of Africa, and the United States. There is nothing natural about the new scale of these disasters. They are the price of humanity's fossil fuel addiction.
According to the World Meteorological Organization, climate-related disasters have increased fivefold in the last 50 years. On average, 115 people are killed every day as a result. Ryan Bailey, 1680 The Crow.
Crews are hoping that cooler temperatures and light showers today will curb some of the aggressiveness of the 5 square kilometer wildfire just west of Hope, along Highway 1. Flames were spotted last Thursday night, and the suspected human-caused fire is burning in steep terrain just south of the highway, prompting sporadic closures of the eastbound lanes of the route. Evacuation orders and alerts are in effect for this fire and for the 287 square kilometer wildfire that is threatening Hudson's Hope and the Bennett Dam in northeastern BC. The fire is just 4 kilometers from the dam and 8 kilometers from Hudson's Hope, prompting the evacuation of that community. But fire officials say a controlled burn has removed fuel on the flank of the fire closest to the dam, giving crews a defensive advantage. A Milton, Ontario man was shot and killed in his auto shop. It's being remembered as a valuable member of his community. Halton Regional Police say the 38-year-old Shaquille Ashraf was fatally shot yesterday afternoon by the same suspect responsible for killing a Toronto police officer in Mississauga. Former Ashraf's employee at MK Auto Repairs, Omer Ahmed, says his boss fostered a great work environment.
He would always be in like a happy mood all the time, you know. He would always be smiling, always like, you know, joyful.
Ahmed says Ashraf did a lot for the community and would help fix people's cars even if they couldn't pay for the service. COVID-19 booster shots are now being offered to children aged 5 or older in the Yukon. A statement from the government of Yukon says it is expanding the booster program to youngsters following Health Canada's approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech children's booster dose and recommendations from the territory's top doctor. Eligible children must have completed their first series of COVID-19 vaccinations at least 6 months ago and should not have had symptoms or tested positive for the virus for at least 3 months. Yukon's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Sudit Ranade, says staying up to date on the COVID-19 vaccinations ensures the strongest protection against the virus, and he urges all Yukon residents to get their booster as soon as they are eligible. Thanks for tuning in to your 1 o'clock news update with Mac Fleet on 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.